Gaurav, I just want to take a moment to, enlighten our viewers about how the two leaders of the nation in moments from now are going to be discussing how to build a secure, stable and prosperous Indo-Pacific. And that seems to be the main aim of this particular visit.
The Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese a short while back said that India and Australia's relationship has never been stronger as it is now. And look at the fact. 2014 Prime Minister Narendra Modi went to Australia. In March 2023, the Australian Prime Minister was in India. They saw a cricket match together at the Narendra Modi Stadium, and 90,000 people were there to watch that cricket match. When they met at Hiroshima just yesterday, the Australian Prime Minister told Prime Minister Narendra Modi that he's facing a peculiar problem. The number of people who want to attend the community event in Sydney, he says he's unable to ensure that everybody is able to attend that, and 20,000 people will be attending the community event when Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be there in Australia. Incidentally, the American president also joined in this conversation because this was on the sidelines of the Quad meet that was happening. The American president said that the next month, which is July, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in June, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in Washington, D.C. And a problem that the American president is also facing is the number of people in America who want to attend the state dinner that Prime Minister Modi has been invited to in the United States. He says the number of requests that are coming in, he's unable to, accommodate all those requests. Went on to say that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is very popular, he's making a difference, what he's doing ensures democracies matter. The American president also said that the Prime Minister is having a major impact in the Indo-Pacific region. So coming to that question that you asked, the Indo-Pacific region is very crucial to democracies, whether it's India or Australia or Japan or the United States of America. You and I were having this conversation yesterday when the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea touched Prime Minister Narendra Modi's feet because he had learnt that this is the maximum amount of respect you can give to an elder as per the Hindu culture. When you touch an elderly person's feet, a senior person's feet, that's how you give that person respect. And that's the respect, he said, that they wanted to give to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Again, in that summit that they were having earlier, in that summit, they said the Indo-Pacific nations, those island nations, 14 island nations, want India to be the voice of the global south and a voice that needs to be heard on very powerful platforms, whether it is G7 or G20, Chaiti.
No, absolutely. And would you say that this is all happening because, never before we've seen the democratic India shine so bright as far as our relationship with other nations are concerned. Would you attribute this to the charisma of Prime Minister Modi?
It's the effort that's being undertaken. If you read Australian newspapers today, they're talking about the Quad. While they talk about the Quad, they're also saying that India is not towing America's line. And some of them are very upset that India's adopted an independent foreign policy that puts Indian interest first. So India's neither in the American camp nor is India in the Russian camp, while it has an adversarial relationship with China, but it's not even siding with America and Australia against China. So India is following an independent foreign policy, and the countries respect that. They respect India's independent foreign policy that puts Indian interests first. And they realize, while some of them may say that India is the weak link in Quad, it's also a fact that India is one country. If you were to talk about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, India is one country that's respected, and India's point of view is respected both by Russia and by Ukraine, where India's point has been very clear. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has articulated this. He did so at SCO Samarkand when he told the Russian President Vladimir Putin, this is not an era of war and we need to find a solution through dialogue. democracy and through negotiations, diplomacy, which is exactly what he told President Zelensky in Hiroshima. It's through dialogue that a solution has to be found. So that's a point that is actually being respected. The diaspora respect, well, you've seen it, whether it's at Madison Square Garden in the United States of America or at Wembley Stadium in the United Kingdom, or last time at Australia in 2014, or now, it's the Australian media that's been reporting that there are special chartered private flights to Sydney, which is now being called Modi Airways, for all these diaspora Indians to get to Sydney to be a part of that event. And that area in Sydney may just be called Little India starting tomorrow.
Very interesting. And also, if you could shed some light on the kind of ties that we share with Australia at present and the difference that this particular visit of the Prime Minister will also make going forward.
So India and Australia, from a time when Australia looked at India with a lot of suspicion, from when we carried out the nuclear tests, it was almost a relationship where the two countries were almost daggers drawn. But to a relationship now, when Prime Minister Albanese says that the relationship has never been stronger, that it's two democracies coming together. There is a free trade deal that came into being December 2022. 85% of Australian exports to India, whether it's minerals or wool or cotton or lamb, and so much more, seafood, a lot of products from Australia coming to India. Education is one area, tourism is one area where, Indians are going to Australia in a very big way. A part of, I think it's 2.8%, if I remember from the top of my head, of Australian population is Indian or of Indian origin. They're very proud of the fact, fastest growing diaspora and very, very powerful diaspora, which is making a positive impact. At the same time, there are issues. Australia has some issues with India. India has issues with the Khalistani elements in Australia, the attacks that were taking place on Indian temples in Australia, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi raised this with Prime Minister Albanese that this should be checked. So, it's a relationship of two powerful democracies moving forward, not just bilaterally but also multilaterally in the Indo-Pacific, where that relationship is extremely crucial, Chaiti, because it's to checkmate China, to protect democracies in that region, like these Indo-Pacific countries, where you don't want China to either trap these countries in debt trap diplomacy or to have military outposts in these countries, which would be detrimental to the security of Australia and of the region.